Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, thanks for joining the AI for Good Global Summit. All year, always online. Like most of the world, AI for Good Global Summit has gone digital this year, but it allows us to reach even more people all year. AI for Good Perspectives offers expert insights, global visions, and shared solutions for the whole AI for Good community worldwide. Earlier, I was joined from Melbourne by Karl Redenbach of LiveTiles. Karl is CEO and co-founder of LiveTiles, a cloud-based digital workplace solutions offering. Hi, Karl. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having us here.
So, offering workplace solutions right now, as the world kind of tries to work out and fathom how to work from home, I assume that's taking up a lot of your time.
Look, it's been crazy. The world has changed overnight. People are used to going into offices, maybe to a desk or working at a restaurant or whatever. That's all just changed, and people have to do things from home, whether they like it or not, in certain countries or in certain cities. And our technology and what we're doing with big companies and government is trying to make that seamless and trying to make it as easy as possible. It has changed overnight. It's incredible how fast this has happened.
Now, you've been long-time partners, you are this year, of the AI for Good Global Summit. What's the importance for you of being involved in this and in terms of AI for solutions?
Well, I think the summit is all about getting government, companies, education, all of these different parties together to actually have very open, transparent dialogue, to collaborate around artificial intelligence and what is undoubtedly already one of the biggest changes in our lives. I think in a post-COVID world, AI is going to be even more accelerated, and therefore this summit is even more important given the context of what's happened in the world literally overnight.
I mean, let's take our example. You're in Melbourne, I'm in Toulouse, France. AI for Good Global Summit's based at the ITU in Geneva, and we're having this talk right now about AI. This kind of, it reinforces this message, right?
It really does. And I think you've seen AI impact already through whether it's video conferencing or whether it's predicting weather or predicting certain things in the world, but it's going to have a more and more deep impact, whether it's from manufacturing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's trying to lift people up out of poverty. We think this is a great opportunity for us to come together in one place, try to create a joint charter and try to create some joint responsibility and accountability for what is the biggest change we believe in our lifetimes.
Over the past few years of these summits, and this one in particular, what have you heard the most memorable things, would you say?
Well, look, ultimately what excites us is where we connect people with technology. And often people think about artificial intelligence as robots walking around the streets and things like that. And appreciate that might happen one day in the many, many futures of years. And I hope those robots are there to assist people. However, it ultimately comes down to what we call human interaction with people. One of our visions is to revolutionize the way people interact with technology. And artificial intelligence has a huge role to play in that. Things like being able to predict, predictive analytics about what you can do. For example, we look at education, being able to help and educate people in a much better way. All of those things are going to be groundbreaking. They're happening whether you like it or not. And we've got to work out a framework to come together to be able to make sure that it's done in the best, smartest, and most accountable way.
You talk about education, but surely one of the great concerns is that remote education actually creates a distance between the pupils and the teacher. And AI doesn't help that. What you need is actually face-to-face for some stuff.
Look, there's no doubt face-to-face is what we want where we can. But you need to understand, even for example, like now, my 4 children at home have been homeschooled pretty much for the last 6 months. Didn't really choose that, but they've all been homeschooled. And without this sort of technology, there would be no interaction with the teacher. And we're lucky that they've been able to do that and be able to speak to a teacher despite the fact there's a global pandemic. If I go into developing nations that maybe don't have the access to certain types of skills or certain types of lecturers or certain types of educators, you can now bring that into just about anywhere at any time on any device. And you could be in any region, in Indonesia, looking at a mobile phone and have access to, through the internet, this sort of education and be predictive on that basis. Work out what people need to learn and still try to bring some sort of personalised experience through AI to ensure they are educated in the best possible way. So we think there's a huge role for AI in education.
What would you like to be the conclusion of the summit at the end?
Look, ultimately, this is a great opportunity for people to come together and different stakeholders, whether it's government, whether it's corporates, and whether it's education, to ultimately put together a charter that people can understand, that people can hold themselves accountable, but most importantly, people to have make the world a better place. And that includes looking at things like the Sustainable Development Goals and making sure that we adhere to those, making sure that we're doing things, whether it's around poverty, and it might be certain rules, it might be certain things around the ethics of AI and the sort of things we feel we need to be held accountable to. That's what we hope to happen here. And I think the great thing about getting people in, whether it's be great if we could do it face-to-face or whether it's virtually, being able to have that communication, we think is a great way, and that connection, to be able to make sure that we're doing things in the best possible way for the best possible outcome for all people.
Now, here in France, I went through 2 months of pretty tough lockdown. You've gone through it in Melbourne. Would you say that, in some respects, the lockdown has actually provided an opportunity for AI for good?
Look, I think it is. I think ultimately the world is going to become more digital, whether you like it or not. I'm based in Australia. I would normally spend 50% of my time on an aeroplane, traveling to meet a customer, often for one meeting. Now, one of the issues with that is that I've got 4 young kids, and being away from the family is very difficult. It's now a great opportunity, I think, to use digital for good and use AI to make our lives easier so that we can do the things that we want to do. And that could be being with your family, or what I would like to think as well is maybe helping community. How can we get out there, volunteer, do more, help people out of poverty or people with mental wellness issues, and bring them up? And to me, this is a great opportunity versus you having to be stuck on a plane, doing a business meeting, or going to different places because you've always had to do these things physically. Now, that is a huge role. We still think being able to meet face-to-face is critical. However, it does provide an opportunity, I think, for people just to think a little bit differently. What's maybe important in their life, and how could they work together to make the world a better place? And maybe spending some more time on that than just racing around. And as I said, for me, sitting on an aeroplane.
Thanks, Karl. That's Karl Redenbach in Melbourne, the CEO and co-founder of LiveTiles, giving us his insight into how AI is changing our lives. Stay tuned for more from the AI for Good Global Summit, always online and all year round.